Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing some more shorter-term technical analysis on Bitcoin. Finally, guys, we're actually going to talk about the shorter-term charts here, because finally something has actually happened. As you guys can see, Bitcoin has been trading sideways for like 2 weeks now, and we've finally seen something happen. Bitcoin has broken support at around $9,000, and over the last 45 minutes or so, has really started to pull back from that price level of $9 grand all the way down to $8,700. So we're finally seeing some big movement, although unfortunately it's not exactly in the direction that we wanted to see. Guys, there's a lot of important analysis that's going to go into this move that you guys are going to want to see in today's video, and I think you're also going to want to understand why if Bitcoin doesn't hold support above around $8,600 to $8,700, we're probably about to see a sub $8,000 Bitcoin. And that's not clickbait, guys, that's just the truth of it. We're going to be diving on into that in today's video. If you do enjoy today's video, make sure you smash that like button, guys. Really helps out the channel when you do that, and I would be very appreciative if you did. If you don't hit the like button, then we may just have to crash the market even more, and we wouldn't want that. But without much further ado and bad jokes, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Guys, this market is moving at the time of recording this video, and unfortunately the market is making all of its moves during my morning recording window. So what we're probably going to do is if Bitcoin does start doing anything major after the recording of this video, then I'm going to be live streaming it. So go back and watch the VOD if this video is in fact outdated by the time you see it. I'm going to try and make this video in such a way that everything I say in this video is still relevant to the market, even if the market has moved. With that all being said, let's get started, guys. The main reason that this is a big deal is simple. Bitcoin has fallen below the 200 daily simple moving average. If we turn off the 100 here, I promise I'll be getting back to you. Bitcoin has fallen below our incredibly important level of support, guys, the 200 daily simple moving average. You guys know how important that is. We've been talking about this moving average ever since this channel has had a following here on YouTube. It's very important. And the fact is, guys, Bitcoin had rallied 45%, mooned even, and blasted straight through it. But then we traded sideways and we've actually come back down below it. And that's not really a good thing, guys. And the reason that's not a good thing, the reason that this, I'm hesitant to say, is just some kind of healthy correction or healthy consolidation is simply because Bitcoin didn't build any support on the way up here, guys. Bitcoin mooned. It really did. It rallied 40 to 45% depending on where you measure in the span of about 24 hours. And if we bring up our VPVR here, we're going to see there's not a whole lot of support before we get back down to $8,000. There's not much below us. And especially if we zoom in and just take into account recent price action, there's just really not. There just really is not a whole lot of support over here, guys. There just isn't. So the reason that this is concerning to me is because if we look back down on, say, the 5-minute chart, Bitcoin has started to correct, but at the same time, guys, it doesn't really have a technical level of support that it's sitting on top of. It's just kind of sitting here floating in midair, waiting for it to find some kind of level of support, which is concerning to me because it might mean that this is about to crash even lower. And if it does, it'll probably be during the editing of this video, which would be very annoying. But alas, that's how it is. Nevertheless, the point is, Bitcoin is not really sitting on any major technical level of support at the time of recording this video. It's kind of sitting here in midair, and that's not exactly the way that you like to see markets move. You like to see markets pull back to a predetermined level of support and start building from there. Because if Bitcoin doesn't hold where it is right now, guys, that leads us to some price targets that we need to discuss. One of which is our red line down here and our VPVR climax on the daily chart, down here around $7,973, call it right under 8,000. This is going to be a big level of support. As you can see, there's a lot of support that was built back up over here in the end of May, early June. There was also a lot of support built up over here in the month of October when Bitcoin was testing $8,000 as a level of support. If you guys will remember back to this time, we kept calling $7,800, $7,900 levels of support. So if we take off our VPVR, this looks like a major level of support that we're going to be looking at if Bitcoin does fall down here. And it lines up pretty well with a lot of these bottoms down here on this chart, like right there, right there, right there, and several over here. If Bitcoin falls and crashes below $8,700, which I'm getting increasingly more concerned is going to happen. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. That's kind of my call. Maybe about a 65 to 70% chance we fall below that in the way the market's looking right now, and I'll explain that in a second. Then around $8,000 is probably where we're headed. But let me also show you guys another scenario as to why Bitcoin might be pulling back and why we may be about to bounce right here. If we go back onto the Bitcoin shorts, if we go back onto Bitcoin futures, then there is something we need to look at, and that would be, of course, the gap. Now, I know you guys are so incredibly tired of hearing about the gap on the CME futures. Trust me, I am tired of talking about it, but it is definitely important. This gap right here, a lot of people were saying that this Wix filled this gap. Two things about that. One, I don't like when wicks fill gaps. Almost always candlesticks fill gaps. So yes, this is technically a filling of the gap, but normally a gap on a non-24-hour trading market is going to get filled by a candle body rather than a candle wick. And to date, we haven't done that yet. This pullback might be what we need to cause that to happen. And if that is the case, we would need a candle body to come down to around $8,700. Guess what? That's one of those levels of support we were talking about, around $8,700. So all this might be, guys, for the time being, all this might be is the market pulling back on the 24-hour trading markets like on Coinbase and Kraken and Bitfinex and all these other markets. It might be Bitcoin pulling back to $8,700, closing a daily candlestick and then bouncing so that we can confirm that gap filling. Maybe that's what's happening. But let me tell you the reason I'm concerned about this, guys. The main reason that this is concerning to me, guys, is because we rallied from $7,400 to $10,600 in like a day. You know, I mean, that happens in Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin after all, but that doesn't happen a whole lot. And the problem with that is that we rallied and rallied and rallied and broke through all of that resistance, but we built no support along the way. And furthermore, the thing that concerns me is the fact, yes, we're getting back to that 100 simple moving average now, that we didn't break it. We broke through the 200 daily simple moving average just fine. We mooned through that because the bulls were so exuberant that they weren't paying attention to resistance, but we failed to get above the 100 daily simple moving average, which actually means, from a technical standpoint, everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks serves to be a technical rejection from the 100 daily simple moving average, which predicts a correction, which predicts a rejection, which also predicts a move to the downside. So like I said, guys, it's still up in the air whether or not Bitcoin's going to do that. In fact, Bitcoin will probably have decided by the time this video goes out and ruin all my efforts here. But nevertheless, that is something that you need to be aware of, is that Bitcoin might be rejecting here. And the fact that we traded sideways for 2 weeks and didn't continue that bullish momentum is definitely a point in favor of the bears, quite frankly. So in today's trading day and on for the next couple of days, you need to be aware that Bitcoin may be about to have a big crash down to around $8,000 or maybe even 72, where this other support that we've talked about is. If you're going to go long on this market right now and try to call a bottom down here, be very careful with it. Make sure you're using your stop losses. Make sure you're using your wisdom. If you're in CT2A, make sure you're learning everything you learned in the academy. Make sure you're being smart here, guys, because finally the market's moving again. The last thing you want is, now that the market is moving, for you to make the wrong trade. If the market's going to be moving, hopefully we are shorting when we need to short, longing when we need to be long. One final thing I will say, guys, is it's funny timing that Bitcoin is doing this, because the daily chart MACD is finally about to have that bearish cross that I've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. We're having that bearish cross today. Tomorrow that will have gone ahead and crossed, unless Bitcoin does bounce today. So that's not really good timing, like I said, for what we're seeing here. A daily cross on the MACD is definitely going to have impact on price action, and it is something that could exacerbate this decline if we do in fact break below $8,700. So guys, to wrap up, watch the level of $8,700. That's a very flimsy level of support, but because that's the top of the gap on Bitcoin futures, then that is going to be something. If Bitcoin starts trading and the first two numbers are 86 and it stays down there for a little while, guys, then we're probably headed to $8,000 at least. If you look at the VPVR, I know a lot of you guys don't have Pro, so you don't have VPVR. If you look at the VPVR, that's where our next major level of support is, and to be fair, it is a very major level of support down here around 8K. I could easily see Bitcoin doing something like this, pulling back and continuing higher. And frankly, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'd be perfectly okay with something like that happening. I don't see that as unhealthy for the market either. Guys, the moral of the story is that Bitcoin is falling. It's just a matter of where the bottom is. I think there's two major scenarios, and I've just told them to you. Tell me in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you agree with my analysis here? Do you agree that Bitcoin is going to bounce around $8,000, or do you think Bitcoin is going to bounce around $8,700? I'd like to hear your opinion. I could see both scenarios playing out. I mean, it's really a coin toss in my opinion. I'm leaning slightly more towards a bigger crash today though. Guys, right before recording this video, and I guarantee you right after finishing recording this video, I'm going to be having a fantastic conversation in the Discord server about the current state of the market. So join the Discord server down below. Come join our amazing community, guys. We're really enjoying chatting about what's going on in Bitcoin. We are spectators as well as traders, and I always find it to be very, very fun. So make sure you join us down there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all, also make sure you use the comment section. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say and think down there. But anyway, guys, that is going to have to wrap it up for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good